Hello, everyone. Welcome to the No Fear Job Search webinar series. My name is Linda, and I am the marketing specialist here at Jobscan. If you're unfamiliar with us, we are a Seattle-based company dedicated to building the best online tools for job seekers. And this is our second year of doing the No Fear Job Search webinar series. So no matter where you're at in your job search today, we hope this event helps you in some way. Today, we have Shauna Cole presenting on how to make your LinkedIn profile a recruiter magnet. All these sessions will be recorded, so if you miss any of them or want to rewatch them, we are uploading them to our YouTube channel, so they should be up in the near future, and you can also find the recordings at jobscan.co/no-fear as we upload them. And before I hand it off to Shauna, I'd like to go over some general rules of the road. So we recommend that everyone have their view set to active speaker mode in Zoom. And to ensure that everyone has a good experience free from any distractions, you'll notice that we're keeping you on mute and keeping your videos off for the duration of the session. However, with that being said, we'd still like to engage with you and hear from you. So there is a text chat feature in Zoom where you can submit your questions or comments to our presenter throughout the webinar. And I see some of you commenting in there right now. And me and my colleague Paige will be monitoring that chat and saving relevant questions for Shauna until the end of her presentation. We do ask that you try and keep your questions to a general nature and related to today's topic, which is LinkedIn, and we will do our best to relay them over to Shauna. Please also save any networking or link sharing until after the Q&A portion, because we do want to reserve that for questions. One more thing before I hand it off, we are offering 20% off a Jobscan premium membership for new and free members today, and you can find that promo link in the presentation today. But with all of that, I am excited to turn it over to today's presenter, Shauna Cole. Shauna, thank you for taking the time to present to us today. Welcome and take it away.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Linda, Paige, and everyone at Jobscan for inviting me and for hosting this awesome webinar series designed to help job seekers make the most of their job search. So thanks for having me. Guys, I'm going to just kick it off and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Shauna Cole. I'm the founder of a company called Career Interrupted. I'm obsessed with sharing useful career advice and tools, and I also offer career coaching. I'm a chartered professional in human resources, an MBA, 15 years HR experience. That makes me feel super old when I share that. And I'm a university instructor. And I'm so thrilled to be able to share with you today my experience and my passion for LinkedIn. Is that totally dorky? It might be dorky, but you're all here, job seekers, so I know you're into it, right? All right, here's where you can find me. You can find Career Interrupted on YouTube. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, of course. Just hit the follow button. And you can also check out my website at careerinterrupted.ca, where I'm sharing useful career tools and resources. So why am I presenting on the topic of LinkedIn, and why do I love this tool so much? I want to tell you my story with LinkedIn and where that journey kind of started for me. When I started my own business several years ago, one of the first things I did was I went to LinkedIn and I thought, I'm going to update my profile and show up in a really, really professional way. I did this while I was on maternity leave with my little guy. I was home and I was doing this part-time, sort of in my spare time if the baby slept. And I won't forget, one day I went out to a coffee shop and I ran into this former colleague of mine, and she said, wow, you're doing really amazing things. It looks like business is going really, really well for you. And she got this based on my LinkedIn presence. Now, we're all friends here, right? Don't tell anyone. I had 0 clients, 0 business at that time. All I had at that point in time was a good LinkedIn profile. You want this to happen to you, right? You want to be at the coffee shop and you want people to know what you do. You want to have a strong personal brand and you want to look employable, right? Like that's a dream scenario, isn't it? Like for me, I didn't realize at that point in time, what I was doing was working on building a strong personal brand. And that's what LinkedIn can bring to you too. So today we're going to go through quickly our objective, why LinkedIn is going to be key to your job search success, what LinkedIn All-Star status actually is, the 8 steps to become an All-Star, 5 steps to really stand out. You know that stuff when you're on someone's LinkedIn profile and you're like, ooh, this is good. I'm going to tell you why you think that's a good profile. And then we'll conclude and have a Q&A. So the point of today, you want to learn how to set up a profile that will attract recruiters and help you stand out as the awesome candidate that you are. LinkedIn can often be intimidating or perhaps misunderstood. Today, you're going to get the tools and a step-by-step approach to learn how to set up a profile that's accurately representing what you bring to recruiters and hopefully help you get to a point where you're now attracting inbound opportunities. Does that sound good? Sounds good, right? All right, and then at the end of the webinar, I'm gonna show you how you can get this special bonus, which is my LinkedIn connection request templates. You're gonna have all these tools and tips on how to set up an awesome profile. Now you need to make some LinkedIn friends, right? And that can feel kind of awkward. So with this download, you're gonna get the exact wording to send to people to get them to accept your connection requests. Okay. LinkedIn is key to your job search success. Number one, when you're in the coffee shop, you want people to know what value you bring, just like what happened with me and my former colleague, right? So you can actually start building your personal brand in a free, pretty easy way using LinkedIn. LinkedIn helps you find your job faster because most hiring managers and recruiters are already using it. And having an all-star status and a well-together LinkedIn profile is actually going to make it about 40 times more likely for you to get discovered on LinkedIn. So there's no big mystery to this. All-star status, what it does is it helps you to show up in searches. Think of it as a search engine. Think of LinkedIn as a search engine. That's what recruiters are doing on the back end. They're looking at candidates. So you need to be putting enough information into your LinkedIn profile up in their searches. So there's 5 stages of LinkedIn to get to LinkedIn All-Star status rather. So if you want to start at beginner, you would start beginner, move to intermediate, and then sort of graduate to All-Star status. So this is basically just a measure of your profile completeness. You want to get all-star status so that you're showing up in searches and attracting those inbound opportunities. And likewise, building and showing a personal brand online. Regardless of where you are on this scale that I just showed you, if you're beginner, aim to get all-star. If you're intermediate, aim to get all-star. Get your profile filled out as your first step to LinkedIn success. It's super not hard to do. It's not difficult to do, but it can have a really, really big impact when it comes to attracting opportunities and building your personal brand. Okay, so here it is, 8 steps. I'm gonna walk step because you need these basics. You need the foundation of a complete profile before you start doing anything on LinkedIn. It's hard to network. It's hard to send people to your profile to demonstrate your work if it doesn't look good, right? So if you're thinking your LinkedIn profile is cringe, right? Which a lot of people go, oh gosh, I don't even know what to put on there. If you're thinking your LinkedIn profile is cringe, this is where to start to make it at the very least not cringy, right? We don't want to be cringy. Feel good about it. You want to feel like you're proud of how you're showing up on LinkedIn. Okay, step 1, you have to do these 8 things to get all-star status. You have to have a profile picture. This is not hard to do. It's not hard to do. but you've got to have a nice quality profile picture, in my opinion, to have a solid personal brand on LinkedIn. I know you've been there. You've gotten like some sort of connection request and it's got like the outline, there's no face there, and it's kind of creepy. You do not want to be cute or cringy on LinkedIn. So make sure you've got a good profile picture, okay? So LinkedIn users who have a photo get 21 times more profile views than users without one. Just click on the blank profile image. And likewise, if you were to message from someone without a profile photo, there's something that really feels off about that, right? It feels a little scammy or spammy, or like this might not be a real person or whatever. So make sure you've got a great photo. Really, really easy to do. You can go and get a professional headshot. You can stand in front of a blank wall. Make sure you've got some nice daylight. Boom, you're done. You can even get it. I'm going to show you an online design tool later on in the presentation we use to create a custom banner image, as well as change out the background of your profile picture. Okay, look at all these beautiful profile pictures. Don't you want to click on those? That's why it's 21 times more likely you're going to get clicked on if you've got a photo. Okay. Number two, you need a strong headline to be a LinkedIn All-Star. So in order to have All-Star status, you have to have a completed headline. Do not use the default on LinkedIn. You don't want to use what LinkedIn is auto-populating for you. You want to write a custom headline yourself. Your goal with your headline is to appear in more searches, because that's always our goal, and to clearly explain who you are and what you have to offer. And I would love to be like, here's a formula that you can follow every single time headline, but that's not true, because we all have goals and objectives when it comes to LinkedIn, and we should customize our headline to align and help us achieve said goals and objectives. Here are headlines that look pretty good to me that you might want to consider like this. So look at this dude, very clear what he's doing. He's actively searching for a job in the field of computer vision. Very, very, very clear about what his objective on LinkedIn is. Likewise, he's going to show up in searches. If a recruiter is looking for any of these types of words in their search, he's going to appear. Hopefully. We don't know 100% what's going on behind the scenes with that algorithm, but this is absolutely going to increase your odds of showing up in searches. Here's another example. HR specialist, recognized top 10 in my company. Maybe I'm not looking for work, but I'm using LinkedIn to build my personal brand or something along those lines. These are great examples of clear headlines. Again, can't stress it enough. Just put some additional time and effort, go beyond what that default headline is that LinkedIn is giving you, because it's probably something like your job title, your current company. And it's not really going to reflect favorably if you're currently on the job hunt, or not going to accurately reflect the full broadness of the skills that you have to offer. Industry and location needs to be filled in for you to be an all-star. This step number 3, make sure that you enter your country. I'll show you this on the next slide, because recruiters might search on this. I'm going to be real with you. I'm curious about where this is all going to go with our move towards much more remote work. But at this point in time, this is still accurate. To be an all-star, you've got to have the industry filled in, and you've got to have your location filled in. And that's, again, going to maximize your odds of showing up in recruiter searches. So easy to do. Select your region, select your industry from the drop down. You're done, and you are closer to all-star status, and you're going to appear in more searches. The moral of the story today is show up in searches, guys. We want to show up in searches. That we're working to all-star status. Number 4, complete your experience section. You need to have at least 2 recent positions in the experience to show up as a LinkedIn all-star. Again, why are we filling in this information? Why is it so important to show up in searches? LinkedIn members with current positions are discovered about 16 times more in recruiter searches, and their profile views increase up to 29 times. One quick hack to see how you're doing in terms of what you're presenting on your profile is this profile views piece. It's a really, really cool piece of data that you can keep an eye on. When you scroll on your LinkedIn and you get to like the middle of your profile page, you'll see a dashboard, and that's where that bar shows up: beginner, intermediate, all-star. And it also shows some key pieces of data, one of them being profile views. What to include in your headline and in your about section, which is important, and we'll get to it in a minute. Check your profile views. Check your profile views before you edit those pieces of your profile, and then check your profile views after the fact. If your profile views are increasing, that's a pretty good indication that you might be showing up in more searches. So it's a great metric to keep an eye on, and to see if the changes that you're making are making positive contributions to how you're showing up on LinkedIn. So this experience, you can use your resume as inspiration for this, and much like everything else on LinkedIn, there's no single magic formula or way to do things. You wanna write that experience section in a way that's gonna serve you in whatever your current objective is. So I put mine up here, and I'm describing my company in my experience section before I dive into what my business does. I see a lot of job seekers take time in their experience section to describe the company that they're working for. And I don't know if that actually has any benefit to them, because to me, it's a sale for the company, but not necessarily highlighting that individual's experience and skills that they might bring to the job search. I'm not going to say that's always the case. That's because I don't know the uniqueness of your own situation, but consider that. If you've got a big description about the organization you're working for, does it actually need to be there? Or would that space be better served speaking to your specific skills, accomplishments, and responsibilities you held in past positions so that you show up in more searches? That's up for you to decide. But definitely spend some time in this experience section. Again, keep focus on the goal, which is to appear in more searches and build your overall personal brand. All right, step 5. We're almost all stars. Step 5, you want to add skills. So there's a section on LinkedIn where you can add skills to your profile, and you want to make sure that you got at least 5 on your profile. I know you got way more than 5 skills, right? At least make sure that you've got 5 highlighted, okay? So with 5 skills or more, you're up to 33 times more likely to be contacted by recruiters. You want to include skills that you're obviously good at, like don't make it up. You also want to make sure that you're including skills that are relevant to the job that you're applying to as well. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. Add this to your list. Just add new skill and then select from the menu there. It's very, very straightforward. And again, it's beneficial because you show up in searches. This is the hardest part. This is the hardest part, guys, of your LinkedIn profile. But you've got to do it to be an all-star. That's the about section. I think this is the most challenging part of your profile to create. I'll give you this before I even talk about the profile. I just want to say that I think a lot of times we go into this exercise of like creating LinkedIn and creating our profile, and particularly this about section. I think it is forever and it has to be perfect. But this is very much a kind of living document that you change and tweak over time. So give it a go. And if you are not feeling good about what you've got in the about section, that's okay. You can go back and rewrite and tweak it over time until you feel great about it. It might give you some time and energy to craft this, but this presents a huge opportunity to clearly market yourself to employers. I want you to pay attention when you're out exploring LinkedIn to this about section. You're going to find a lot of profiles that don't use it, or it doesn't have any sort of clear, crisp message. So it's a very easy to stand out with a clear about section. Here, like everything else, there is no universal rule, but here are a few things that I think are really, really key and really, really important to you having an awesome about section. One is an open, clearly shows why you're on LinkedIn. So rather than, which I'll see workers do this, they'll go on their resume and take an old objective statement, cringe, or professional profile and just paste it into their LinkedIn profile. Rather than doing that, you can use it as inspiration. Rather than doing that, tell me why you're there. Tell me why you're in. Hey, I'm actively seeking a job in this, and here's my awesome experience and my most impressive skills in this field. So write a couple of paragraphs for your about section. You include an opening statement that shows why you're on LinkedIn. You're going to include a summary of your work experience and your most impressive and relevant skills. Depending on what their goals are and their field of work, might include sort of their why or a personal story to draw people in. You've got to do the work to assess whether or not that's appropriate for you, given the type of work that you're looking. Add a few bullet points focused on some of the things that you've achieved, the stuff you're most proud of. Add profile, and I find this one is like this is so good. Just say, here's what you can get in touch with me for. Consulting opportunities. I'm looking for jobs in this field. I'm like very pointed, very clear. Tell me why I want to get in touch with you. That is often missing on LinkedIn profiles and go a really, really long way. Include your contact information. Sometimes the LinkedIn inbox can get a little wonky by times. You might miss your messages. A great round for that is to include your email address right in the about section. So if a recruiter wants to get in touch with you, very, very easy. And there's really no barrier for them. And they can just copy and paste your email and away they go. Anytime in your job search, you can make a recruiter's life easier. That's the right thing to do. Recruiters will love you for it. You want to complete the education section on your profile. Again, so easy, like we need the easy button, so that you can be discovered by fellow alumni. Okay, so just fill this out. You're going to see your link like, hey, you and so-and-so graduated from the same school. And if you're lucky, you're applying for, maybe an executive is someone that you hung out with at the university bar. I don't know, but you never know who that connection could be, where they work now, and how they might be able to help you achieve your goals. It's really, really important too if you're a recent grad or student and you're just starting to build your network. You can also start sending connection requests to like alumni of your school, because it's an easy search to run. And I'll give you the exact template. I'll show you how to get that built at the end of the webinar. I'll give you the exact template on what to say to members of your alumni association to get them to connect with you in like a non-comfortable and actually productive way. So all you need to do, plus select your school, add it in. Oh, you're almost there. And this is it. You have a stellar profile. You have a beautiful about section. You have a gorgeous headline that clearly shows me what type of value you would bring to my organization. Now, step 8, to be an all-star, you've got to make some connections. You have to have at least 50 connections. I hope you have 50. If not, that's okay. You're going to get those connection request templates, and you can start sending out those connection requests and get to 50 very, very. Okay, more connections equal more opportunities. Just like the university bar example, I don't know, maybe that guy's a VP at some company that's hiring for 200 positions. We don't know that, right? So more connections can equal more opportunities. So we want to grow that network. I know some people will say, you know, I only connect with people I know. Some people have different policies around that. I think there's huge value with even connecting with strangers in a professional way, because it opens your world to new opportunities, new people, and new experiences as well. Okay, you are now a LinkedIn all-star, right? You list, you're like, I've done these 8 things. My profile's done. It's beautiful. I feel proud of it. I showed my mom. I'm cool. So I'm an all-star. Now let's take it to the next level. The all-star piece is foundational to really having a standout or a good profile and to showing up in those recruiter searches. Now we're going to go deeper with 5 specific tips that are going to help you really, really stand out. The first one, have a clear goal. So you say a few times throughout this chat, like, there is no universal truth or answer when it comes to what should be in your headline or what your about section should include. There are no simple, fast rules when it comes to that stuff. What you need to have is a clear goal. So I'll show you an example. I'm here to get a job as an IT specialist with a startup. Know your goal. Knowing the answer to why you're there, to know why you're on LinkedIn, is going to help you align all of your actions to achieve that goal. In the absence of the goal, true enough, it's really hard to know what to include in your about or what to include in your headline or whatever. Just always come back to why you're on the platform. Okay, I want you to use images. This is tip number 2. Think about this. Every time you're on a profile and you're, gosh, this is such a good profile, I'm going to bet that there's some sort of use of visuals on that profile. There's probably a great profile picture. There's a nice banner image. Maybe they have some items in the featured section. There's something visual to it. I'm very sure of it. So consider creating a custom banner image for your profile. I'll show you a link to Canva. The options go on forever, and you will look like you just hired like a graphic design department. You can literally with Canva go down like this whole rabbit hole of tools to make you stand out as a job seeker. So I really can, and I'm gonna, yep, okay. So here's a couple of, look at these. Oh my gosh, these are just templates, guys. They're free. Go grab a template. And how cool would it be if you could take from Canva, make sure that your resume fonts were matched, use some similar color scheme, and you could create like a whole cohesive marketing package with this stuff. When I mentioned about the profile picture as well, there's functionality in Canva also where you can take your profile picture, and if you're wondering how people get that cool, like perfect pink background or whatever behind them, they make it happen on Canva. So I would really consider checking out this tool. It will take you up a notch. Every time you look at a profile that you think is amazing, that there are visuals on it. Feature your work. LinkedIn has a featured section where you can actually link to pieces of work that you have done. This is so incredibly powerful for a job seeker. As a job seeker, you are often like telling the recruiter, like, I'm a really good writer, I'm a really good presenter, or I'm a really good teacher, but you never really show them. So you're asking a stranger to take your word for the fact that you're good at something. Featuring your work, you can actually show the recruiter that you're good at something. It is so incredible. If you're worried that you're facing a bias in the recruitment process, maybe you have a name that's a non-North American name, and maybe you're making assumptions about your speaking skills. Put a video of yourself on LinkedIn and show that you're a strong communicator. It's really, really powerful, and I can't emphasize this enough because it is so underutilized, and it's a beautiful compliment for the recruiter to go from looking at your resume, going to your LinkedIn profile, and being able to actually consume and see work that you've done. So this is someone from Jobscan. You'll notice this section now if you haven't noticed it before. But you too can very easily do this. You can put up put up links to external sources. You can link to a file, show a PowerPoint, make sure that you're protecting confidentiality or any responsibilities you have around that. But totally do it. Okay. Tip number 4, engage. Oh my gosh, you're an all-star, or you have a featured section, you have a beautiful banner image. Go and show it off, right? Like, you don't want to do all this work and then get no traffic or visibility on LinkedIn. So the simplest way, the very easiest way to start showing up on LinkedIn is to comment on other people's posts. I'm not talking a nonsense comment like, great post, Shauna. That's not a good comment. I'm talking about a post related to your field and you're like, oh, this is very interesting and I have a thought to add to it. Write a paragraph, add it on the comment section. Boom, you've just been to a new area on LinkedIn, opened up a new network, built your credibility, and who knows what could come of it. And it's so easy to do. So commenting rules, you should do it. Comment on LinkedIn, go out, show off your profile. And then 5 is to network. Send professional network connection requests rather to build your network on LinkedIn. And I can't stress this enough. Don't just be out, hey, do you have a job for me? That doesn't feel right. What I would say is to refocus how you think of this. And we use the word networking and job search, so we overuse it, don't we? Can we think of this as like relationship building? Can we think of this as reaching out to people to start to build relationships? If I got a message from you today and you're a stranger and you ask me to get you or give you a job, that feels really icky and it doesn't feel right because the relationship's not there. Like, we haven't even gone out to dinner. You're asking me to marry you. It doesn't feel right. So take a step back. And I want you to focus on building connections and building your network in a more meaningful way. So think about things like asking for an informational interview. That's a really, really great place to start, to get meeting time with people and to start to get to know people that way, rather than just going right for the ask of a job. Over time, your network will grow if you're consistent on the engagement, you know your goals, you're sending out connection requests actively, but you don't need a big network to get results. You need a network of the people, right? So we don't need to focus on huge numbers. We just need to focus on building a quality network of people who are influencers in their own field and where we want to see our career go. Okay. So those are 5 tips to a standout profile. And today, the objective was we wanted to learn how to set up a profile, attract recruiters, and help you stand out as the awesome candidate that you are. And I know you can do it. You got like over 13 specific tips in order to get that profile really, really shining so you can show up as a really, really standout candidate. So don't forget to connect with details on YouTube. Follow me on LinkedIn and find me at careerinterrupted.ca. This is where you can find the download that I mentioned earlier in the session, the LinkedIn connection request templates. There's 8 connection request templates in there that you can literally copy and paste. The way you're going to use those is when you go to add a new connection to LinkedIn, make sure you click the add a note button every single time. Don't just send generic like, hey, do you want to request connect on LinkedIn? Again, feels icky. Add a note, take some of the text from these connection request templates, put it in the note, make new friends, get a job, right? Right? All right. So our next steps, we're going to go to careerinterrupted.ca/LinkedIn to get those templates. Make sure to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I'll see you on LinkedIn and you'll be standing out with your awesome profile. I am going to pass it over to Linda, and she's going to now lead us through some Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shauna. And I have seen all your wonderful questions coming in through the chat box, and we will try to address as many as we can. So we have a couple questions about, addressing gaps in employment or varying experience. So Ferdinando asks, it's pretty common practice to optimize your resume for each job posting, but how should we do this on LinkedIn since we only have one LinkedIn profile? How are we supposed to, adapt it for the different jobs we may be applying to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you really can't. I would think that targeting, you're going to be targeting a specific type of job, specific type of company in your job search. I would hope, right? You wouldn't be applying to a role in engineering and then a role in accounting. We would be focused on one field or the other, ideally, because we want to start our job search with that end goal in mind. So your LinkedIn profile does have to stay a little bit more generic because of that. I like to think of the LinkedIn profile as kind of an extension of the resume document. When I visualize how the whole process goes, you've got your resume that's optimized, hopefully, to go through the ATS, those applicant tracking systems, through like a tool like Jobscan or something. And then you have that at the recruiter's desk. And then ideally that recruiter is going to go check out your LinkedIn profile. So I want your LinkedIn profile to kind of add to that. And I want you to use your LinkedIn profile to demonstrate this whole idea of showing versus telling to the recruiter. So it should be an expansion of your resume, not a copy paste of your resume. So as an example, if you've applied to an engineering job or something like that, and you say like, I'm so awesome, I'm making this up. I'm so awesome at Excel. Might you have a sample of work that you can display on your LinkedIn profile to show the recruiter that you have that skill?
Great. Thank you, Shauna. Angie asks, how do you handle your LinkedIn profile when you have taken an extended maternity leave or a gap of over 2 years and you're currently seeking employment?
Yeah, I see. This is what I would recommend to someone, and everyone has to do what's right for them, particularly in the transition to motherhood. Be real about that. For me, when I see someone put on their LinkedIn profile maternity leave, I wouldn't recommend it. So if you think of every other social platform, if Facebook, if you're in a TikTok, whatever, if you go on a leave, you're typically not like shutting it down and saying, I'm not going to check this platform for that period of time. LinkedIn offers an opportunity to stay connected to your professional field of work and to your professional community. So I think the right way to position your LinkedIn is just how it was before you went on leave. So if you're using LinkedIn to build your brand and you're an HR person and your headline was senior HR specialist, I would recommend leaving it as senior HR specialist throughout. Multiple times in our career, we're going to have to reassess what our goals are, and we should line up that LinkedIn profile to meet those goals. But I don't think that there's any value in noting a leave on your LinkedIn profile, in the headline in particular. When it comes to situations to experience gaps, those are just really a way of life. Sometimes folks will actually omit bits of work experience if they're short stints or whatever. So you'll need to assess for your own situation if you had a work experience that was 6 months or something, if you just remove it from the experience section altogether. Perhaps that's something that's better explained in an interview.
Great. We have a couple questions here about career change. Raj asks, how do you attract recruiters if you want to change industries or careers but don't have any experience in that field?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I would say is, so if you don't have any experience in that field, I would recommend like go out and get some, start networking with people as well. Is there a way that you can volunteer or get involved with a professional or something to start to build up that experience. So I worked with a client who was transitioning to human resources, and she had previously worked in marketing. The first thing she did was join the HR association and started volunteering for events, which was an awesome thing to put on her LinkedIn profile. Also got her connected to decision makers in the HR community. I would absolutely start there. And then I would think about, and this is really going to depend on like who you are, what you're comfortable with, what you want your brand to be, and what type of field of work you're looking for. But you might consider noting that out section. Maybe you had a transformative experience where you're like, you know what? I don't want to work for corporate anymore. I'm now an entrepreneur. I now want to work for a small business because I had this story. Maybe that's a story that you can tell on your about section.
Absolutely. Let's see. Brianna has a similar question. So she asks, how do I write a strong headline for a career change?
Yeah. So the headline should be, I want you to align the headline with whatever type of position you're targeting at this point in your career. I think where the transition piece kind of gets muddy is in like that about an experience section. And again, that's where I think if you tell the story about why you're transitioning careers, that can be really, really impactful. But as far as the headline goes, make sure that you're just using whatever type of role you're targeting at this point in time is. And don't worry too much about highlighting your past experience in the headline piece. Again, you want to be really, really clear when you show up on a search or when you're showing up on the platform of who your name's going to show up if you comment, and then just your headline. So I would just make sure that I'm targeting what I'm looking for now.
Great. We have a question from Patty and a couple other folks about, the open to work ring that you can now put on your profile. She asks, should we put that around our profile picture to let recruiters know we're looking, or does that sort of convey desperation? What is your recommendation on that?
I was totally going to talk about that when I was going through my presentation, but I was like, oh, everyone's. So here's the thing. I will never say like there's a universal answer, a right or a wrong. It's my personal opinion that the green ring open to work doesn't bring a whole lot of value. The bulk of what I was talking about, like as far as like all-star status and everything, is really driven in like, let's beef up the profile so we're showing up in search results. That frame doesn't help you to appear in search results. And likewise, the whole open to work thing, just, can you imagine the recruiter just searching on open to work and what you get? Like I'm looking for, I don't know, a coder or whatever. I'm looking for something very specific. Open to work thing is like everybody who's open to work. So I don't see a whole lot of value. I haven't seen clients have results from using that. And I also think that I would much rather be known for who I am and my professional skills and expertise rather than being work. And that's the risk of it. I wouldn't use it, but you do you. If you feel like it's right for you in your situation, for sure do it. There's no right or wrong.
Thank you, Shauna. Let's see. Paula asks, is it okay if your activity and posts aren't always about the type of job you're currently seeking?
I think so. I think you want to be careful though, and get back to the question of why am I here? So why am I on LinkedIn? What's my purpose? And make sure that those activities are targeted to that. One of the things, like my experience, I will share occasional personal posts because my values are something I live them, I volunteer around, and I value diversity and inclusion very deeply. So I will post about things like this, even though I'm not a diversity and inclusion person, but it's very related to who I am and the types of clients that I want to work with. So definitely give some thought to what you're posting. Make sure it's aligned with your goals. More importantly, I think make sure it's aligned with your values and how you want to be showing up in front of potential future employers too.
Yes, absolutely. We have a couple questions on region and the location you should put on your profile. So Shannon asks, if relocating, should we put our current location or the location in which we're job searching?
Yeah, that is so tricky, like particularly for folks who are like moving countries. For me, if I'm thinking about using the platform at that point in time and it's to get a job at this place, I'm going to use the location of the new location so that it show up in recruiter searches for that new location. It's a muddy one for sure, but it's a conversation that you can absolutely have with the recruiter during like a pre-screen or initial interview or whatever.
Great. Let's see here. Ann Kit asks, do you think it's beneficial to invest in either of the premium accounts on LinkedIn?
Again, I feel like it's absolutely up to you. The primary benefits that really seem to come with premium is like some enhanced search functionalities. So as a job seeker, try it out. Like you can do it for free days. I would try it. I have tried it. I personally use it, and I don't suggest my clients invest in it because it can get a little expensive. But you know what? If you're curious about it, try out the free trial and see if you get some value from it. But my understanding is it's really primarily for that enhanced search functionality if you're doing complex searches on the platform.
Stephen asks, how would you address being fired from a job on your profile?
I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't on my profile. I think termination is it's really a very complicated scenario and story. So I absolutely would just list that last job and the experience with it. And that's a discussion that you need to prepare some speaking points for when it comes to potential interview with the employer. But they're noting kind of like separation reason or why you left your last job is really, you don't need to put that on your LinkedIn profile. I think this is like a really common thing though that people will and do face in the job search when it comes to their resume and LinkedIn. People want to be like super honest and transparent, and they don't want to be perceived as hiding things, right? That's probably where this is coming from. But just think of it. These are like marketing tools. Like you're just trying to drop in to be like, to get the interview. So you don't have a sort of like full legal obligation in the North American job market anyways to list your reason for last employment. So that's a long, deep story that doesn't need to be on your resume or your LinkedIn profile.
Yes. Let's see. So now that, the world has obviously changed in the past year or two, Georgiana asks, how should we best include that we're able to work successfully remotely?
I think so. I think that that's a great add, like for your resume too. I think that would be a great thing to add to like your top section of your resume should be like your professional profile or summary, whatever you're calling it. You can add it to that section of your resume. And it might also be something that you want to include in your about section on LinkedIn as well, so that it's clear that you're available for and have had some success in remote work. I would note that in my about section on my LinkedIn profile.
Great. Julius asks, how important is it to post articles on LinkedIn? Those can take up a lot of time. Is it valuable to post articles?
There's like a couple of things. So there's the article functionality is when you like actually like write an article, like write a blog post on LinkedIn, and then share it with your network. So if it was like a unique piece of content that you wrote, that's one article. And I would say with that, I think it's definitely worth your time depending on the field of work you're in. So if you're looking for a job as a writer or a journalist or whatever, totally write an article, pin that article to your featured section. Beautiful. You've got this gorgeous piece of work and a little portfolio there. If it's just like, I think this is what you mean, like where people are just like, this is a random thing I read. It's kind of cool. I'm going to post it and not write any text and just leave it out to the world. Yeah, not a ton of value in that. There's been suspicion, and I mean, I don't know what the true answer is, but there's two schools of thought. One school of thought says when you post something like that has a link in your post, one school of thought says the LinkedIn algorithm just kills it, so nobody sees it anymore, right? So yeah, and then the other school of thought is no, that's complete none. Does kill when you put a link in your post. I don't know. I don't for LinkedIn. If anyone knows, tell me, because I'd love to know the answer to this. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to share an article to LinkedIn, I would always be sure to be like, I read this cool thing. It's by Linda and it's really good. And here's why I recommend it. Like I would add a personal touch. I'm thinking like I'm talking to all my friends out there, right? So I would add a couple of lines to the post rather than just sort of effortlessly share that. I think it can be hugely valuable if you're looking to build thought leadership and credibility in a specific field. To see your name associated with whatever said topic is can be pretty powerful and send some nice implicit messages to potential recruiters to see you as an expert in the field. But yeah, include a custom note with it. Try it both ways. Whenever you're not sure what to do, just try it, just test it out. Try it both ways and see what gets you better results. Whatever gets you better results, do it again next time.
Great. And folks, we are almost just about up on our time here. So we'll get to, let's see, two more questions. Sumit asks, after I made a connection, how do I start the conversation to make that connection more meaningful?
I think it depends on like what you want to get us. I'm assuming you want that person to hire you. I would recommend always, if you can try to get that person to real life connect with you somehow on a Zoom call or something for 15 minutes. That's a really, really great goal to have. And I know sometimes it's like, oh gosh, that's so uncomfortable, right? To think about, I'm going to just meet this stranger. You can do anything if you prepare for it. So I put a video on my YouTube channel all about conducting informational interviews. As long as you're prepared for that scenario, the connection can be really meaningful. So I would say that's a really, really great goal. The other thing you can do to start to build a relationship with someone online is to even send them something that they might find useful. Be useful to this person in some sort of way. Like, hey, Shauna, I just saw this article on how to be a LinkedIn all-star in 3 steps. I thought you might like it. So think about things like that. How might you bring genuine value to this person's life? And then the other thing that's happening when you do those things is like, you look super when you do something like that. You look really, really attentive, and it shows your interest and that you're being genuine as well in terms of, I want to actually build something with you instead of just knocking on your door looking for a job.
Mm-hmm. And we will take our last question, which comes from Tim, and he asks, you can request those recommendations on LinkedIn. What do you feel is the value of those recommendations on your profile? Are they valuable?
Yeah, I think those recommendations are hugely valuable. Imagine a scenario where you're perhaps new to a city or something. You're new to my town, but I happen to know your former manager and they've put a recommendation on your profile. by association, you already have like a little bit of credibility in my eyes. It's a really, really good practice to ask for recommendations from your employer, from any teachers or professors that might be open to doing that. It's a really, really good practice to try to get them on your profile because of reasons like what I just described. You have an the recommendations section to build your credibility with a recruiter before ever having met the recruiter. So you think about online, often what you have online speaks for us before we have an opportunity to say anything. Imagine that someone who's seen as credible in the recruiter's eyes is basically endorsed. That's a really powerful thing. When you're asking for an endorsement, much like everything else, don't do the generic like, hey, would you, because it will be a default. It will say, hey, would you write me an endorsement? And it's like, oh, give the person a little bit of guidance on what you're looking for. Hey, you recently in my class on effective communication, would you mind writing a little bit of a couple of lines about how my energy level is in class? Thanks. Like get a little specific, give them some boundaries so that it's not, where do I start? And it seems like a big task, right?
Great. And unfortunately, we are out of time today, but I just like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Shauna. I think we all got a lot out of your presentation, and hopefully everyone feels a little less anxiety around navigating their LinkedIn profiles now. If you would like 20% off Jobscan Premium, you can go to the promo link up on the screen right now. And that will give you 20% off of either a monthly or quarterly plan. That quarterly plan does come with a 2-week free trial. Please also check out our other webinar topics at jobscan.co/no-fear. We do have some other great topics and presenters coming up in the next couple of weeks. That is it for today's presentation, but Shauna will leave this slide up and the chat box open as folks start filing out of here. And best of luck to all of you in your job searches. Thank you so much.